Today, I'm really excited about our guest professional. We will be exploring the career of an author, and I'm really excited also to have my special co-host Elizabeth here on the show with me as well. If this is your first time ever tuning into the show, make sure you go ahead and share this video now so that more people will know about what the life of an author looks like, as well as Cory and his book, as well as the show. Now, you might say to yourself, man, I'm telling you, I think I want Cory's book. It sounds like a great book. All you have to do is click on that link that's right next to his name where it says follow Cory, and you will be able to reach out to him as well. Another great thing is Cory is actually featured in our Today I Want to Be products. So he's featured in our flashcards. So if you're interested in taking a look at those products to help your child explore different careers, make sure you also visit that description box, because right there next to that little buggy, that little cart, you will actually be able to shop our store as well. So now this is a very interactive show. So now make sure you grab your kids or your students, and you can actually post your questions in the comment field. So if you're watching from any other page other than Martinique Y. Brown or Cory's page, or even Today I Want to Be Facebook page, make sure you come on over to one of those three pages, and I can actually post your question and I can relay that to Cory as well. So now give us a virtual shout out. Let us know that you are in the virtual world. But thank you guys so much for being on the show again. Cory, can you tell the viewers just a little bit more about yourself?
Hello, everyone. First of all, Martinique, I want to thank you for having me as a guest on the show. Obviously, we go way back.
We
And,
do, we
you
do.
know, whenever there's something that you have and you make me a part of it, I'm always thrilled. It's always, the things that you do are so special. So I'm always honored to be a part of anything that you have going on. So again, I do appreciate everything you've done, all that you do for the youth, and just everything that you do. We can do a whole show on you, which we need to do that. We need to reverse roles at some point and give you the same spotlight. But my
I'm
name is
ready.
absolutely, you deserve it. But of course, I'm Cory Collins, originally from the small town Hazelhurst in the big state of Mississippi.
Mississippi.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know my Mississippi people are checking this out. Definitely love home. I've been in Florida since 2004, 2005, so I'm a Floridian now. I'm used to the weather, and I can't go to those cold weather cities or states anymore because I'm a Floridian. Can't drop below
Mhm.
65 anymore. So definitely excited, happy about me being a Floridian slash Mississippian. But
Yeah.
I'm an author. I've always been a writer. That's just something that's come natural to me. So years ago, God put it on my heart to just put some things down for the world to see, to share it with others. And obviously, since I've connected with Martin, we've done some things together as well to help me share my platform and vice versa. So again, just excited to be here.
Excellent, excellent. So now I do want to give a shout out to Nika Grafton, who's tuning in. Nika, make sure you go ahead and share this video now so that more people will know about Cory and his book and the show. So now, like I said, I have my very special co-host Elizabeth here on the show. Elizabeth, can you tell the viewers what grade you're in and what you want to be when you grow up?
I am in the third grade, and this summer I'm going to the fourth,
Whoop, whoop.
and there's so many things I want to be. I want
Give us two. Give us two. Your top two.
to a marine biologist and an engineer.
That's so, girl. Come on. We're gonna have to feature you in 2 years when you become that marine biologist and when you become an engineer as well. Because I'm telling you, when we talk to Cory, Cory does so much. He does not put himself in a box at all. So we'll be able to learn that, he does different things as well. And, if you're passionate about, the water, and, you also like to create things, go ahead and pursue those things, because you can definitely do it. So
Absolutely.
now, Cory, can you tell us, why did you want to become an author?
So it's funny that you asked that, because I never really wanted to become an author. That was never something I thought about, talked about. The thing is that I've always been just a natural, and not to toot my own horn, but a gifted writer. You know, my teachers always told me that, and it came naturally to me. When I saw
Mhm.
others struggling in it, it was just it was never seemed like work. When we had classes in school, when anything English related or writing, that was a piece of cake for me. I went into mass communications in college. My goal was to be a sportscaster on air on ESPN.
Okay.
But in the journalism courses, we had to learn both sides. We had to learn the on air, on camera, the production side, but as well as the writing side for writing for print. I was never excited about those classes because I wanted to do the on camera stuff,
Yeah.
but I had to. And I distinctly remember I went for one of my print classes. We had to have at least 5 stories published in our school newspaper. This was in college.
Mhm.
Throughout the course of the semester, so I had to write 5 stories, just make up or do 5 stories, go around and interview people, come up with a storyline, and we had to submit it to our campus newspaper, and it had to be chosen to be published in the campus newspaper, and it had to be 5 stories, and we had all semester to do it, and I procrastinated, I waited, and it came down to about 2 weeks left, and I hadn't even started on any of the stories because I just wasn't excited about writing. Again, it was easy, but I just
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
get to do it. So at the last minute, I just threw together 5 stories, submitted them, and that was a huge gamble because we couldn't just submit the stories; they had to get accepted. So some people were submitting 10 stories or 15 stories just to get 5 accepted, but I turned in the bare minimum. Huge
Uh-huh.
risk. Now I look back on that; that was crazy. But not only did all 5 of them get published, but they were published on the same day. So that school
Oh,
newspaper
wow.
for that week, it was pretty much the Cory Collins show. All my
It sure
stories. And
was.
yeah, when I saw it, I was so excited. I remember laminating it and sending it to my parents and my teachers. It was like, wow, you submitted 5 stories and they all got accepted. This never happens. So a light
And
bulb
you
kind of went off.
rushed it.
I
And
rushed
you
it.
was
That's another thing.
rushing it.
Mhm. So that's when the light bulb went off and said, I really, if I put my mind to it, I can really do something with it. So I knew that was always on the back burner. But I never pursued it until, years later when God just put it on my heart. My wife mentioned it. People were just telling me. So I just knew it was time. When other people keep telling you something, sometimes you just have to listen. And finally
Mhm.
being stubborn, I finally just listened and said, okay, let me do it.
Yeah, yeah. That's good. That's good. So what's your first question, Elizabeth?
My first question is how old is your daughter?
Awesome. So I actually have 2 daughters. One
Oh,
just like you, 3rd grade, going to the 4th grade. So maybe you'll get a chance to meet. She's creative. She's ambitious, just like you. So I think you two will hit it off. She knows what she wants to be already. In the 3rd grade, I thought I was going to the NBA. So I was clueless. So thought I was going to be a professional athlete. So, I love the fact that you know exactly what you want to do, and she's the same. And my oldest daughter, she's actually 13. So she's a teenager. So
Teenager.
pray
my
for me.
my cousin's a teenager.
Okay, awesome.
And you know what, Elizabeth, your aunt Nika, she told me, she said, well, that's my niece. So shout out to Nika, got the family watching. Um, she said that great work, Cory. Creative minds work under pressure. That
Oh
is
yeah,
so true. So
yeah.
so let me ask you something, Cory, because I know you really wasn't looking forward to submitting those stories, but as a journalist, you do have to interview people. Is that a side that you do enjoy though?
Oh yes, because I love talking to people. I'm a talker
Mm.
by nature as well. So a writer and a talker. In school, I was the kid. I would make straight A's, but I would have a C in conduct every time for it. And not that I was a bad kid, but I would talk too much. Whenever we do the parent teacher meeting, every year, every teacher would tell my mom the same thing. He talks too much. He would not stop talking. I could get my work done quickly, and
Mm-hmm.
I would just start talking to whoever was finished next. So interviewing people, that was something that came naturally to me because again, it never felt like work. I always wanted to do something that didn't feel like work.
Mm-hmm.
So talking to people and writing, those 2 things that I would do, whether I was getting paid for it or not. So yeah, that's something I love doing.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is for people that enjoys talking to people, it don't matter where they sit us at in the class. Like
Hmm.
we'll still they be looking like,
We'll
come
find a
on,
way.
can you
Find
just
a way.
not?
When
So
when they moved me, the person that they moved me next to, that was my new friend.
I know, right? Nobody is a stranger. Nobody is a
Absolutely,
stranger.
absolutely.
So now what would you feel are the pros and challenges of being an author?
So the pros are that a couple things. I would think one is that you can totally let your imagination run wild and be creative, because there are fiction books and there's nonfiction books. So you can write about things that are true, things that are based on your life, or things that you know about. You can interview experts in certain fields, and you can put their thoughts and ideas into a book or an article. But also, if you don't go that route, you can completely make up a story, and it could just be the craziest thing, but you can put it in a book, and it's all about you and your creativity and your imagination. So I was talking about my younger daughter. She's creative, as I mentioned, and she's not, she doesn't want to be a writer or an author, but for her English class, she had to write a story. And she couldn't wait to get to that part, and she just locked herself in a room and she wrote this long story. And when I looked at it, first of all, I couldn't believe how long it was, and it was just her. She came up with the story about I talked about what she already knows what she wants to be, which is a baker. She wants to have her own bakery. Keep in mind, she's 8 years old at the time, so in her story, she talked about going out and finding a building and buying a building to have the bakery, and interviewing people to work at her bakery, and hiring a staff, and doing the grand opening. And a critic came in, and there was an issue where they messed up the order, and the critic gave him a bad review.
She knows about credit.
Exactly. I'm thinking, like, where is this coming from? And she immediately called this meeting with all the employees. Okay, who messed this up? Okay, well, we're gonna have to talk about this. Somebody may get fired. Here's an 8-year-old, and I'm reading this like, did she really write this? And they came up with a solution of how to fix it. They called the critic back and got everything right, and happily ever after. So now, again, she doesn't want to be a writer. That's just her imagination. So that's the beauty of it, of being an author. You don't have to want to be an author or a writer, but if you're just a creative person, you can be a writer, you can be a movie director. I mean, different things that different platforms that you can use to utilize that creativity. So that's probably one of the biggest, I would say, pros, that you can be so creative. As far as challenges, I would say, you can't get that writer's block. And writer's block is where, there's some days you just don't have it. It's not coming to you. And that can be frustrating. You don't know what to write. You don't know where to go with it. You're searching for the right word. So I would have my thesaurus.com open, on my browser as I was writing. So that's probably one of the biggest cons, just those days where it can become frustrating, because sometimes you may know what you want to say, but you can't find the right words, or sometimes you just don't know what you want to say. So either of those could be frustrating.
Now, we are all about child literacy and kids reading. Elizabeth, tell us what one of the titles of your favorite books is.
There's a whole series that I love.
What's the name of the series?
I Survived.
What is that about? I've never heard of that one.
I Survived is like this series. It's based on true events, but but it's made into like a little story.
Oh wow!
It's a chapter book, and I almost have all of them because I love them so much.
Yeah.
And I got some, and I got 3 in my school packet. 3, and so my mom ordered a whole set of them for me.
That's good. That's excellent. Don't you love when you get surprised and just get gifts?
No, I'm not surprised because I asked for them.
Oh, well. Still shout out to your mama for getting them.
And I want one more book, which I listened on audio in Epic in a reading app called Epic, and in the book I Survived is called I Survived the Joplin Tornado 2011.
Oh, and that's a true story.
Yeah.
Oh wow, you be reading that serious stuff, girl.
The reason I want to read that book because I love tornadoes.
Oh, okay. So nature, marine biologist is coming together. I get it. So now, Cory, what are 3 things you wish someone would have told you before you became an author?
Wow, great question. So I must admit, for this one, I cheated. I don't really cheated, but I had an advantage. I'll say that, because before I, became an author, I actually had a mentor who was a world famous author. He's written, best-selling books. So I was able to study and learn from him. So he gave me a lot of the, shortcuts, the quote unquote secrets, the do's and don'ts. Hey, don't do this. So that saved me a lot of potential, mistakes and pains and headaches. I'll answer this question from a perspective of the things that I would tell someone, because again, I already knew these things, so I didn't necessarily, struggle or have any problems with these things because he coached me along. But I would say, number one, don't wait for the perfect time to start writing. And I get people inbox me, friends inbox me every day, hey, I want to write a book, or I'm waiting for the perfect time or when to get started. Don't wait for the perfect time. There is no perfect time. If you're waiting, you're going to be waiting forever. And you'd be surprised how many people want to write a book, and they've had that idea for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and they never got started. And the reason why the book doesn't get completed is because they don't get started. So the key, and it sounds really simple, but the key is just start. There's no perfect time. So my advice would be to go to your phone or your notepad or your notebook and just write the first word, THE, and just let your imagination take over from there, or I, or an, or the. Just start with the small word and just go from there, because those first few words or that first sentence, chances are that may never make the book. It'll get, changed and edited, but you have to start. If you're trying to make it perfect on that first attempt, you're going to be waiting forever. So just start right. Nobody's going to ever read that first sentence that you write unless it's just good enough to stay in the book, which is great as well. So I would definitely say that. Another thing is to write every day. Just write 5 minutes. My mentor told me write 5 to 20 minutes every single day. Again, just because you write it doesn't mean it's going to go in a book. And I think that cripples a lot of potential writers, because they think that when they start writing, someone is reading it. No, this is a such thing called a rough draft. So it's going to get changed hundreds and hundreds of times before it's printed. So that would be the second one. And again, the writing doesn't have to be perfect, because at the end of the day, you will have an editor. I don't know anyone who's, written a book or published a book without having a professional editor.
Or should have.
So it doesn't have to be right. You're searching for the perfect word. So, and I did make this mistake, and I kind of mentioned earlier, I would be searching for the perfect word and have my thesaurus.com. Well, what's a better word for this? And at the end of the day, just put whatever word comes to mind, and I'm going to go, because again, you're going to read over it. And every time I would read over it, I would improve it as well. So instead of trying to make it perfect that first time, just write it. Doesn't have to be written perfectly when you go back and read it, because sometimes you'll get stuck just in that moment. But 2 days later, when you read it, the word just comes to you. And I learned that the hard way, because I remember being stuck on this word for like 15, 20 minutes. It's like, man, what is the word? I know there's a better word. And I just could not think of it. And so I just put a word there. And then, a few days later, when I went back and read it, I was like, oh no, here's the word. So that the next day, 2 days later, the word was there. So just remember, just write. It doesn't have to be perfect. It'll be edited over and over and over. And once you get in that zone, once you get going, you'll build up that momentum and you'll just keep going. But if you write one day and skip 2 days, skip a week, a week turns to a month, and a month turns into a year, and it's years later. So every day get in that zone, and you'll be surprised how quickly you can write a book. My mentor told me you can write a book in a month, and it takes most people years. And it's true. And it doesn't take a long time. It's just writing a little bit every single day.
So now the question that I ask a lot of professionals is, where should they get started? And that is a perfect answer. If you feel that your child, enjoys reading and writing, then do those 3 things that Cory recommended. He said, first, just start with just something simple, just start. And these are like little challenges that you can give your kids, if they say that they want to be a writer and things like that. The second thing is, don't tell me I know it. The second thing was, I know you said it doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to get edited.
That's number 3.
That's number 3. And then number 2 is make sure you're writing every day.
Every single day.
So now, in our products, we actually write goals. I actually had the professionals, they wrote goals for the kids and youth. And so, that can be some goals, for your child or your student, to help them and motivate them in writing and writing that book. Now, they may not even become an author when they get older, but this is something that they can be just be challenged on, and they can enjoy doing, and then they can say that they did it if they want to do it or not. But Elizabeth, what's your next question?
My question is, what is the most important message you have for young people?
I would say for young people, I would say always be yourself. don't try to follow the crowd. Don't try to do what others are doing, because who you are is good enough. And each and every one of us has greatness inside of us. But a lot of times, if we think we're not a part of the in crowd, or if we're saying, "Oh, what that person is doing is cool," or "I'm not this," or "this person has this," we lose who we are, and we can never reach our full potential. So again, just remember, God gave a gift to every single one of us, and that gift is completely different. If everyone had the same gift, this would be a very boring world, a non-functional world. Imagine if everybody, I said earlier, I had a gift of writing. It just comes naturally to me. So imagine if everybody was great at writing and nothing else. Well, what would we do if our car broke down? We wouldn't have any mechanics, because everybody's a writer. So somebody's gifted there. Somebody's a great cook. I'm not a cook. So, that's not a gift that I have, right? So then I could go down the line. All right, everyone's great at something. So be who you are. It's good enough. It's better than good enough, because we have greatness inside of us.
That's good. That's good. So now let me ask you something, Elizabeth. When Cory says that, be who you are, don't be a follower, and you have a gift, what does that mean to you?
That means try not to like copy people because you're good at being who you are. Like for example, like I'm good at hula hooping.
Yeah.
I'm good at reading and stuff like that. And some people might not want to be like that, but they can't just copy me because they have to be who they are, or else the world's not going to be like good, or the world's not going to be like it's like good enough good because there's like no other people to fix that. They're just like um the me, right?
Absolutely.
That's true. That's true. Now let me ask you something, Elizabeth. I know that you said that you're good at reading and you're good at hula hooping. How could what you're good at, how could you help somebody else in what you're good at if they're not as good as you are in something?
I could probably teach them because my sister's and my sister stumbles over words. I just help her with them. I just like sound them out for her, and she guesses it. And then I say you got it right and stuff like that.
That's good. So you're encouraging also. So that's excellent. That is really good. So now, Cory, do you think that there is a level playing field for Black authors?
So that's a great question. It's actually pretty deep and profound as well. I think, had you asked that question 50 years ago, well, the answer would be undeniably yes. Maybe even 25 years ago, we had adversities and obstacles as a people, which we still do. Don't get me wrong, but I think nowadays, it's all about how we look at it. Okay, if we look at it as an unlevel playing field, it will be. But we have more power today than we've ever had because of things like social media and the internet. That levels the playing field. Okay. Google doesn't look at who you are, what color you are, if you're, a male or a female. Google doesn't look at your age when you enter a search to try to find out how to do something. YouTube doesn't, well, maybe to sign up for YouTube, maybe you have to be a certain age, but right. But you know what I mean? So, but to upload a video on YouTube if you're, let's say you're you're an aspiring singer. Years ago, you had to, find a manager or get your song on the radio or go out and hand out your music and just, basically be noticed, be discovered. So that was a challenge. So you could be discriminated against based on what you look like, whether that's, age or race or whatever the case may be. But nowadays you can present your product to the world, to the masses through social media. And a lot of, musical artists, a lot of people have gotten discovered that way now. In terms of writing a book, the advantage that we have that we didn't have years ago, because now you don't need it to go through a traditional publisher. So I've heard stories of back in the day where an aspiring artist submitted their book to all these different publishers and they got, denied and turned away for whatever reason. Who knows what that reason was? It may be because of, who you are, what you look like, age, whatever the case may be. You don't truly know. But now you can enter a Google search. How do I self-publish a book? What are the best ways to get a book out without going through a publisher, or who are some great publishers or inexpensive ways to publish a book. So there are so many shortcuts, and we didn't have these resources years ago
Yeah.
because of the lack of, again, the social media and things like Google and YouTube. So the playing field, quote unquote, is, as far as being quote unquote level, it's not in theory, but we have these tools that levels the play advantage of.
And I feel like you're also saying we have to take advantage of the resources out there. Nobody's just going to give us just anything, you know. And we learn that much just in life as well. So now, what are some other things that you do to earn money besides writing books?
Yes, so it's funny that you asked her, you know, how could she utilize those things to help others? That's me in a nutshell. I'm all about helping others. In everything I've ever done, it's about putting others first and putting them in a position to be successful or do well. I've always gotten a great thrill, great joy out of that. I've never helped others for notoriety, for money, for, you know, anything other than the joy of doing it. So, for example, when I was a kid, I was the kid in the neighborhood who would help the younger kids, teach them how to play basketball. I was pretty good at basketball. So the younger kids coming up, they were all at my house, and I was just teaching them how to play basketball, helping them get better. And so the joy that I got out of that was years later seeing them on the team, and I'm in the stand. It's almost like a proud father, but I'm 18 years old, and they're 13 on the basketball team, and I'm like the dad, like, oh, great job. So that's just something that I've always done, and I've carried that into adulthood. I've always been a person where if there's any knowledge that I have, I'm going to share it with someone who needs it. And I just feel as though if the entire world had that same mentality and we reciprocated that, then we could balance each other's strengths and weakness, and we all, you know, just be great and do great things. So I've never held back information from others. So I've brought that into my adulthood. So I started my first business at age, I think, 24, and I gained a lot of knowledge running a business, how to interview people, how to hire people, how to write ads, how to market the business, how to do sales. I just gained all this knowledge. So whenever I would have a friend or a family member who was wanting to open a business, they would come to me, or even if they didn't come to me, I would give them advice like, oh, you have a business? Okay, hey, try this. And I would tell them some of the mistakes that I made, and never for money, or I just, you know, again, I had information I wanted to share and I wanted them to be successful. So, you know, for me, turning that into a platform in terms of coaching others is something that I do as well, from a business standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, on sales and marketing. I work with small businesses, mid-sized businesses, large corporations, just teaching them how to effectively run businesses. I do personal coaching as well, as far as individuals, helping them from a personal and professional growth standpoint. So for me, again, it's always been about giving back, because I think that the more that you pour into others, the more it comes back to you. Maybe not directly from them, but the world just sees it and it reflects what you've done. So you get a gain, maybe not directly or immediately, but ultimately you gain from it as well.
That's good. So now, how do you balance it all though? You know, because you could have just said, okay, well, I'm an author and, you know, that's it. But, you know, you are, you know, you're a speaker, and then, you know, you're an author, and then you also, you know, you're a business coach as well. So now, how do you balance all of those things?
Well, it's all about prioritizing and time management and things of that nature. But ultimately, the thing that's needed most from you, you'll always know. It'll just God always has a way of speaking that to you. So when I was doing more of the coaching, full time, at some point it was first my wife, but ultimately God, who just said, okay, no, Cory, you need to stop and focus on this book. So I stopped and kind of took a step back and focused almost full time on the book. But if I'm needed in another capacity, God, He always speaks to me and lets me know. There was a time where I was running my business full time, and my wife was starting her business, and she needed my help. It's a hair salon, and she needed my help from a marketing standpoint, and from growing the business and things like that. But my business was, I had been running my business at that time for probably 10 or 12 years, and God spoke to me and said, "Hey, you need to just stop with your business and devote to hers." And that was huge. That was a big I don't want to say question mark, but when you're at that point in your life, well, wait a minute, this is what I've been doing, but do I need to devote to her? So I made that decision, and I did that, and that has paid off. And I don't mean financially, it's just paid off just in all aspects of seeing her grow and become who she is today. And, she's just doing great things. So I'm proud to be a part of that and see her business get awards and things of that nature. So from there, God said, okay, now you've helped your wife take her business to the next level. You need to focus on helping some other businesses as well. So he led me in that path. Did I stop helping her? Of course not. But I started to focus some attention on other businesses. And God said, okay, you need to write a book. So did I stop helping my wife? Of course not. Did I stop helping her? Of course not. I wrote the book. And it's funny how we only have 24 hours in a day. And you were asking, how do you balance it all? I don't, it just happens when you're doing it for the right reasons and you're doing the right things and you're prioritizing and you're following where God leads you. You just have time to get it done, and you put the right emphasis on the right thing at the right time.
That's good. That's good. If you are in the Orlando area and you need your hair done, make sure you go to your wife's name is Tanya, right?
Tanya, yes, ma'am.
Go to Tanya's
Natural Tresses.
Natural Tresses. What street is it on?
Forest City Road, 6862 Forest City Road, between John Young and 434.
Come on, y'all know those. Y'all know those.
They know
areas.
it. They know it. They know it.
So now, what's your next question, Elizabeth?
Is this your first career?
No. So as I stated, my first career was a business. I started a business where we did sales and marketing for Fortune 500 companies. So some of the biggest companies in the world, some of them you've heard of. I'm sure you've heard of AT&T. You've probably heard of who else? DirecTV.
Spectrum.
Spectrum. Yeah. Well, Comcast. We worked with Comcast. Didn't have the privilege of working with Spectrum, but Comcast is similar. So we did direct sales for them for years and years and years. So I've done that. A business coach and an author, a speaker. So a little bit of everything, kind of like Martinique is in that.
Yeah. So now, Cory, what would you tell your younger self?
Younger self, I would say just pursue your gift, because again, I fought the idea of writing. It's not that I fought it. I just didn't. I knew I was good at it. I knew it was a gift, but I never took it seriously in terms of, making it a career or focusing on it. So if there's something that you're good at, you should pursue it. A lot of times we pursue things that we, obviously you want to do things that you enjoy, but we may not be, it doesn't come naturally to us, or it's not. I look at it like, is it the reason why God put you on this earth? It's a question that you can ask yourself. Is it possible that God put me on this earth to fill in the blank? My guy, Kobe Bryant, may he rest in peace. I feel like God put him on this earth to play basketball. Of course he did great things after basketball, but I think initially, that was his gift and he worked at it. And I could give, Beyonce, we could go down the line giving these examples. So for me, writing was my basketball, what basketball was to Kobe Bryant. Now imagine had Kobe Bryant ignored that and he just played basketball for fun and didn't take it seriously and then put in the work, because just because it's your gift, that doesn't mean you can't get even better at it, but you need to focus on it and you need to improve. So, I would always write. I wasn't writing purposely to improve, but I would always write, but I found myself getting better at it and getting better at it. So again, imagine had Kobe not focused on that, we would have never seen the NBA player Kobe Bryant. Not to say he wouldn't have gone on to do other great things, but I think again, God put him on this earth to play basketball. Now, not everyone can find that. Not everyone knows what that is, but it will hit you at some point. Others will tell you. Again, my wife told me, and even after my wife told me, I tell the story all the time. I almost laughed at her. I think I may have laughed. I think a laugh may have come out when she said, I remember it just one day out of the blue. She said, Cory, you have all this knowledge. You should put it in a book. And because I used to coach people on the phone and in person. Hey, you should do this, you should do that. So that's what she meant by knowledge. I was always giving people these, advice and things of that nature. So she said, you have all this knowledge, you should put it in a book. And I'm like, I'm not writing all this stuff down. If my friend calls me and wants to know how to start a business, I'll tell him. Or if you want this advice. So, I laughed at her and she said, okay. And I just remember I went to a seminar. It was actually here in Orlando. It was with the great Les Brown. He and a couple of his team members, and one of the people on the panel, we were talking, who was the author that ended up mentoring me. We were just talking and getting to know each other. And one thing led to another. And he told me, you need to write a book, just based on everything I was telling him I was doing. He said, you need to write a book. And it just resonated. It was so loud. I ignored it when my wife said it, but when he said it, I think that was when God spoke it to me. So I remember telling him, okay, and we talked more about it. And I remember making that decision. And then I remember dreading, like, okay, now I have to tell my wife that I'm gonna write a book after I laughed at her. So yeah, but that was an interesting conversation. But yeah, just again, that going back to your original question, just following your gift, what you're good at, finding out what that is, and pursuing it.
Is it possible that a person or a young person could be gifted at something, but they don't really enjoy doing it?
Yes.
And what
So
would you do with that?
so here's the thing. So let's say you're gifted at something, but you're passionate about something else. And these are two different things. Most people follow their passion, okay, as opposed to their gift. And if you ask, successful people what's most important, what's, your passion or your gift, it can get unclear because people don't realize that these can be two different things. So your gift, my advice is to pursue your gift, because again, it's what God put you on this earth for. It will give you the greatest reward because you will reward others. Your gift is always going to be something that empowers others, educates others, entertains others. So think about and I don't want to say successful from a financial standpoint, but Kobe Bryant, or who's the best comedian, or your favorite teacher. Okay, if that teacher was acting in his or her gift, what did he do? He left an impact on you by educating you. Your favorite comedian, he entertains you. Right, your favorite basketball player entertains you. So again, they educate you, they empower you, they do something that leaves an impact on you and makes you a better person, or just brightens your day, or whatever the case may be. So we need to act in that. If we do that, because again, it's the thing that you can do with the least effort. Think back to what I said: writing, no effort. I rushed 5 stories. Here's 5 stories. Published. I was like, wow, like I didn't even put any effort in it. So again, the thing that you can do with the least amount of effort that gives you the greatest amount of gain. Okay. That's what your gift is. So we need to act on that. And if we pursue our gift, and we act on our gift, and we work on our gift, and we give our gift to others, we share it with the world, it will position us to be able to pursue our passion at some point. Because think about your favorite, I keep using, I don't know why Kobe's on my mind today, but think about, Kobe Bryant. He pursued his gift, which was basketball, but let's say his passion was something else. He was able to, act on his gift for so long that he got to a point where if there was anything else that he wanted to do from a passion standpoint, he had the time to do it. He had the resources to do it. He had the finances to do it, because again, he pursued his gift. So your gift is always going to position you to do your passion at some point, but we have to start with that gift.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So now, Elizabeth, what is your next question?
My next question is, how did you know this was what you wanted to do?
So, and I think I kind of sort of answered this, because I didn't know I fought it, but if someone keeps telling you you're good at something, or you should do this, then you probably want to listen. So that's how I knew. Again, it started with back in college when I wrote those stories, and it got printed, and and people would come to me to help them write different things. I remember in high school, one of my best friends, who was chosen valedictorian, she had to write a valedictorian speech.
Yeah.
And guess who wrote it for her? She asked me to write it. I wrote it for her, and she would have read my speech. So even in adulthood, my father, he's a documentarian. So when he would have to write ads for his documentaries and things of that nature, or press clippings for the newspaper, he would call me, and he would write it, but I would always look over it and edit it and make it fancy. And people were always asking me, hey, can you write this? Can you read this? Just people just out of nowhere, they was always asking me to help them write stuff. And I never advertised that I'm a writer. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I'm not a writer. Why are you? It's not my profession. Should I charge these people? Like,
I know, that's right.
But it just kept coming. Hey, write this, read over this. What do you think about this? Or I would always get very well written. I remember writing, and I'm sure my wife is listed, but who cares? This was years ago, before we were together. So I was pursuing this young lady, right? And I just remember we were in the same city, and she ended up going to a different college. We were apart. And I remember just writing her and this email. It was an email just telling her how I felt about her and this and that. And it was this long email. And what she wrote back was, wow, that was so well written.
Yeah,
I'm thinking, like, wait a minute, that's what you got out of it? Like, what about the feelings? What about, that was you're such a great writer.
I
So
know.
just signs. I didn't look at that as a sign then, but just looking back on it, like, man, I always got signs. You can
Uh-huh.
write, you can write. So you'll know.
Yeah, yeah. So now, Elizabeth, I think you have one last question, right?
Right.
Okay, go ahead with your last question.
What ages are your book recommended for?
Mhm. So I tried, my goal was to write a book that was for all ages. And I think I accomplished it based on the feedback that I'm getting. There's a chapter, there's a paragraph, there's a line for everyone, whether you're in high school, whether you're entering the workforce, college, going to college, whether you're wanting to start a business, whether you're trying to find yourself in life, in your career, whether you feel as though, you've lived this life and you haven't accomplished what you wanted to or should have, and you thinking, okay, is it too late? Is my time up? Can I make something out of myself, or can I do something different? There's something in there for everyone. So that's what I set out to do. And I think I did it. And I'm not just saying that because I'm the author. I'm saying that based on the feedback. I've gotten feedback from people in high school. I've gotten feedback from my peers. I've gotten feedback from my mentors, my business mentors who taught me business, have given me feedback and said, hey, you know what? I learned this. And I'm thinking, wait, you learned something from my book? No, I'm learning.
Yeah.
I should learn from you. But it was something that stood out. And it goes to show that, everyone doesn't know everything. I got feedback from an aunt. She sent me a message. Thank you for this. You have me thinking about my finances and how to redo some things and rethink some things in terms of my career. I'm thinking, wow, my aunt said that.
Uh-huh.
And so, that was a great feeling, honestly, because, that was the last thing that I had on my mind when I was writing a book. Or I'm going to help my aunt or my business mentor, but people who have always helped me, because these people have helped me my entire life.
Yeah.
So to hear that from them was like, that made it all worthwhile.
Definitely. So now I know we've been talking about this book. What's the name of your book?
Oh, the name of the book. Life is Easy, We Make It Hard.
That is such a great title. That is
I don't know if you can see that. Life is Easy, We Make It Hard.
That is such a good title.
The subtitle, The World Wants You to Win, Get Out of Your Own Way.
Get out of your own way, world. If you're interested in purchasing Cory's book, let them know how they can purchase your book, Cory.
Yes, so it's on Amazon. You can definitely go there and purchase it. However, if you want a signed copy, an autographed copy, you can look me up on Facebook, Cory Collins, that's Cory. My business page is Cory Collins, entrepreneur, author, speaker. So if you type that in, you'll find me. Or you can email me at Cory Collins, that's Cory, Collins, at ample-opportunity.com. That's AMPLE-OPPORTUNITY.com.
And I also have his website listed in that description box as well. You can also reach out to me if you would like me to. If you didn't have time to write that down, then I can get his information for you and send it to you as well. So last question for you, Cory. Why did you want to be a part of the Today I Want to Be product?
Because of Martinique and what she does. Again, I mentioned this in earlier on. She is all about helping others. She's all about empowering others. She's all about making the world a better place. Everything you do is positive. I'll never turn down an opportunity to be a part of something positive. And then the kids aspect as well. Once you incorporate the kids, I know it's an old saying, the kids are our future, but it's true. So for me to pour into, kids, because I was poured into as a child, and I think it helped me to grow up to be, become the person that I am. So they need role models. They need people who look like them, obviously, who can show them that, hey, you can be this. There's no limit. There's nothing that can stop you. The playing field is level. So once I saw a platform where you were showcasing that, and how could I turn that down?
Definitely. And I definitely appreciate you, Cory, for you just never say no. And I just love that. I'll be like, thank you so much, Cory.
When you say something, when you ask me something, I say no before I even know what it is. I don't even read it. I just scroll to the bottom of the email and say yes. And then later on, I'll figure out what I said yes to. So
I know that's right. Everybody should be like that, Cory. But I definitely appreciate you, Cory. And I appreciate you also, Elizabeth, for your great questions that you were able to ask Cory. I thank the viewers for taking time and tuning in to another episode of Today I Want to Be, our career exploration interview. Next week, we are going to be interviewing Jennifer King. She is a offensive assistant football coach. She is actually the first Black female football coach in the NFL. Wow. Now, she's actually right now the running back assistant coach, but when she was featured, she was the offensive assistant football coach for the Washington football team. So I'm really excited to have her on the show next week. If you're interested in any of your kids or your students interviewing her, make sure you go to that description box and you can actually sign them up. I'm also still looking for Black men and Hispanic women to feature in our 2022. Cory, can you believe 2022? Woo, where did
Hard to
the year
believe.
go? But if you're interested in being featured and you're a Black male or a Hispanic or a Latino woman, make sure that you go right there in that description box, fill out that form for me, and then we will get you started as well. If you're interested in any of our products, make sure you go to that description box again and you can actually shop our products. We definitely hope that you guys have a great remainder of the night, and we will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.